House Democrats are weighing their next steps after the special counsel's statement yesterday. The announcement put more pressure on Speaker Nancy Pelosi to start an impeachment inquiry. But she says we still don't have all the facts. So joining us now with more on this is Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes, who is on Capitol Hill. Boy, I mean, Nancy, you can't see this, but pretty much all of us are wearing navy blue. Just a departure. There's clearly a memo that went out. Speaker Pelosi still says that it's not time to impeach, despite calls from other Democrats. What are the risks in beginning impeachment proceedings, and what are the risks of not doing so?
Well, first of all, Anne Marie, I want to wear whatever you're wearing on any given day. So I'm pleased to be clad in the same color as you this morning. As far as impeachment, however, weightier matters, the House Speaker made it pretty clear, speaking in San Francisco a couple of hours after Mueller's announcement, that she does not think that it is time to pursue impeachment. And she even busted out some numbers. She said, look, this is only 35, 38 of our members. That is 20% roughly of all House Democrats, 10% of all lawmakers in the House. And basically what she was saying is this is still a minority of people who are quite vocal, but by and large, the Democratic caucus in the House, she was arguing, still believes in sticking with the plan as it stands right now, which is having a half a dozen House committees conducting their own investigations into a variety of things, not just obstruction of justice, but a whole host of other acts that have been, that have taken place over the past couple of years, having not just to do with the president, but his administration. And she believes that an impeachment proceeding would, first of all, cut those investigations off at the knees, just as they're starting to get going and really bear fruit. And also, she says, look, we've got to have an airtight case, because if Democrats proceed to impeachment without making the case first very carefully, it's never going to go anywhere. It's going to die in the Republican-led Senate. And then the president is simply going to have more leverage right before the 2020 elections to say, I beat the case, that, he has been exonerated, and that once again, Democrats are throwing everything they have at him, and they are unsuccessful. So those are all the reasons that Nancy Pelosi is standing firm. But she would, have to notice that there were some converts yesterday after Mueller spoke. Some Democrats who had kind of been on the fence, who said that Mueller was essentially sending a signal that this ball is in Congress's court now, and that he thinks that the proper constitutional avenue for investigating presidential wrongdoing rests in Congress's hands.
Yeah, it's funny because he basically just restated what was in his report, but something about hearing it from the man himself, I think, sort of ignited some people, like you pointed out. So Democrats on the House Intelligence Committee will soon see more redacted material from that report, from the Mueller report. Do you think that could affect the likelihood of impeachment proceedings? I know it's not a lot that was redacted, but maybe it's significant.
It certainly gives them more information. If they don't get their hands on these underlying investigative materials, then that just means they have to do more digging on their own. And they obviously don't have all the resources that Mueller did to really do a deep dive into this subject. So they want to get as much as they can from the Mueller report. They'd also love still to hear from Robert Mueller himself. And even though he made it pretty clear in his announcement that he said all that he has to say, that if he were to testify, he wouldn't go any further than he has gone in the report, Democrats still think there's great value to hearing from him, not just because they want to know more about how and why he reached the conclusions that he did, but also if they're trying to make a case in the court of public opinion that the president did something wrong, who better to hear from than a reluctant, independent arbiter like Robert Mueller, sitting there testifying before a committee. And, even if he doesn't go into additional detail, he still would be sitting there taking questions about whether or not the president obstructed justice. That is a public conversation Democrats would very much like to have. These negotiations are ongoing. There are two House committees that have formally requested that he testify. We know that his preference would be to testify primarily behind closed doors, but obviously that would rob Democrats of some of the spectacle that they are looking for. And so those talks continue.
Yes, they do. Nancy Cordes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.